They think their ego makes them powerful. But after watching this, you'll understand why it's their greatest weakness. Every time they try to dominate, to belittle, to prove themselves superior, you'll know exactly how to flip it. Because when you control your own ego, theirs becomes your weapon. This is psychological judo, and you're about to master it. Let me expose a secret most people never figure out. Ego doesn't care about truth. It feeds on illusion. And that illusion, it's simple. I'm better than. You walk into a room and someone instantly sizes you up. Not based on what you've done, but on what makes them feel taller in comparison. Their chin upward. Their smile is just a bit too patient. Their words feel supportive but hollow. That's a cute idea. I used to think that way. These aren't compliments. They're signals. Signals that say, I'm above you. Stay where you are. And if you're not paying attention, you'll fall for it. Start proving, explaining, reacting, and that's how they trap. See, the ego doesn't attack you directly. It lures you. It uses condescension disguised as curiosity, mockery disguised as mentorship, control disguised as advice. They don't say, you're beneath me. They make you feel it with their smirk, with their slow nod, with the way they correct you mid-sentence like a teacher addressing it. And if you have any need to prove yourself, you're already in the trap. Because now you're not responding with strategy. You're reacting with emotion. You're trying to climb up to their level, which means you've accepted you were below them in the first place. That's how ego games work. They don't force submission. They provoke it to then. So you play your understand this. The person who talks the most is usually the one who's performing. The one who watches, that's the strategist. And when someone thinks they're smarter, stronger, better, want you to start performing, they want you to talk more, over-explain. So, emotional investment. Show them how much you care about their approval. Because once you're dancing for validation, you're no longer a threat. You've become predictable, manageable, easy. That's why smart people lose to arrogant ones. In social dynamics, they get emotionally entangled in needing to be seen. But you're about to stop all of that. Here's the paradox no one tells. The more you try to prove your worth to someone who thinks they're above you, the less worthy you seem. Because if you know your value, why argue for it? Why defend what's already true? This is what ego-based manipulators rely on. They press your doubt to make you perform, your pride to make you speak. They nudge your insecurity to make you lose control. And most people fall right into it, not because they're weak, but because they don't realize ego can only manipulate the parts of you that are still unresolved. So when someone underestimates you and you feel the need to prove them wrong, that's not threat. That's unhealed pride. They see it, they smell it, and they press harder until you finally snap and they walk away with a smile, having won the exchange. Here's what you didn't realize. People who think they're better than you, they're not evaluating your intelligence. They're testing your ego. They're watching for emotional reactions, tension in your voice, changes in your posture, any signal that they've gotten under your skin, because that's the currency of their power. Control through subtle disruption, and the second they sense your ego flinching, they go in deeper. You feel smaller, they feel bigger, and the game continues until you decide to stop playing. Here's the hack. You don't fight ego with more ego. You don't beat arrogance by being louder. You beat it by being still, by letting them play their role while you study the scene. Instead of arguing, observe. Instead of proving, plan. Instead of reacting, disarm. Because when you stop needing to prove anything, you become something. A man who is unbothered, unreadable, and unprovocable. People don't know what to do with that, because it flips the entire power dynamic without saying a word. Let them think they're smarter. Let them feel like they're ahead. Let them speak while you listen and build leverage. Because when they think you're beneath them, they lower their guard. They stop watching their back. They forget to stay put. And that's exactly when the quiet wins. The most underestimated tactic in psychological warfare isn't confrontation. It's submission on purpose. Let me repeat that. The most dangerous move in the presence of ego is to let them win the first round. Not because you lost, but because you know something they don't. The person who thinks they've already won stops being careful. Their ego creates blindness. They start over-talking. They share too. They reveal their motives. They stop seeing you as a threat. That's opening. In every ego-driven interaction, there are two people. One performing, the one watching. You're the one reacting, correcting, or proving you've entered the spotlight. You've entered their game. But if you stay quiet, if you remain calm, curious, even less experienced, they perform for. They think they're leading the, but really they're dancing in your theater because you're not reacting. You're observing. You're reading their timing, their tone, the need for dominance. You're collecting intelligence while they expose themselves. This is the essence of the let their ego perform. Feed it, smile, encourage it, and use it to map their blind spots. You don't beat arrogance with louder confidence. You beat it with strategic invisibility. Try this in real life. When someone makes a passive, aggressive jab, don't bite, smile, nod, let it land. Say something like, still figuring it out. I respect your experience. That's a good point. Think about it. They hear submission, but what you're really giving them is permission to expose more of themselves. Because the ego loves attention and it doesn't know how to stay quiet. But they talk more, you speak less. While they feel superior, you start collecting their insecurities, their core need for approval, their emotional pressure points, their overcompensating behaviors. You become the mirror that never reflects back. And that's what makes them vulnerable. Here's what happens in their brain. Assume they're dominant. Dominance reduces social caution. Reduced caution leads to overdisclosure. Overdisclosure gives you patterns, weaknesses, leverage. Meanwhile, your brain is cool, composed, strategic. You're in cold cognition mode while they're in emotional inflation. That's the imbalance that flips the entire dynamic. You've come this far. That means you're ready to break free from the invisible chains that hold you back. The whisper's secret isn't comfort. It's the blueprint to ruthless intelligence. 15 plus chapters of psychological immunity, neuroessentialism, perception, engineering, plus exclusive exercises, and lifetime updates. Read now. Begin the transformation. Build the mind. No one can predict, no one can break, no one can ignore. Link in the comment section. Check the pinned comment. You don't have to steer the conversation directly. You just have to give them room to show off and then pivot it at the right moment. Examples: when they name drop, ask, how did that happen? Did they trust you from the beginning? Let them dig deeper into their pride. Let them get emotionally attached to their own version of the story, because now you own the frame. You haven't dominated them. You've allowed them to dominate themselves, and now they're trapped in. Your job isn't to look smart, to be underestimated long enough to win. Because the moment you correct them too early, they put their defenses up. Start watching you. They start adjusting. But when they don't see you as a threat, they don't block. Don't hide. They don't suspect anything. That's when your influence slips through undetected. The single sentence, well-timed pause, a recalibration of the when you finally speak with clarity, that's all it takes to reset the entire social balance. And everyone in the room will feel it because it came from silence, not force. This is the hardest part for most. Can you tolerate being underestimated so you can win strategically later? Can you sit quietly while they flex, while they make assumptions about you, while they tell the story as if you don't matter? If you can, you're not losing. You're just trading short-term pride for long-term position. That's how the strategist thinks, because the ego wants applause. The mastermind wants checkmate later. When they finally realize you weren't the fool, you were the one who let them feel smarter. It stings. It rewrites the memory of the entire conversation. It haunts them because they remember your quietness, your restraint, your naive agreement. And now, it's clear you weren't beneath them. We're above the game. You don't fight their ego hedon. You don't try to outtalk them. You don't chase their validation. You let them talk. You let them believe. You let them perform. And while they're feeding their illusion, you're building your strategy. Because the most underestimated man in the room is often the one who walks out with all the power. At some point, the people who think they're better than you will realize something unsettling. You don't flinch. You don't argue. You don't explain. And that silence, it's not weakness. It's calculated distance. You've stopped playing the ego game. And now you're untouchable. Because the man who no longer needs to prove himself can't be pulled into someone else's story is when they begin to panic. Not because you threatened them, but because you didn't. You didn't fight for their validation. You didn't try to rise to their level. You just stood still, quiet, grounded, unreadable. And the ego is terrifying. When you master this ego hack, you become what most people can't understand. Someone who doesn't perform for attention, someone who doesn't rise to bait, someone who doesn't explain their worth. They'll call you cold, arrogant, detached, intimidating, and they'll be right, because what they're really feeling is their own discomfort with your inner stillness. You've removed their favorite weapon, your emotional reaction. Without that, they're disarmed. Their dominance dissolves. Their voice doesn't land. They keep trying to provoke the old version of you, the one that would defend, argue, chase, explain. But you've evolved. And that evolution creates silence that screams. Most people try to dominate by being louder. You dominate by being still. And here's the secret. Stillness reflects. It bounces their energy back to them. It forces them to see their own noise. They speak in arrogance. Respond with precision. They posture. You stay relaxed. They escalate. Remain still. And suddenly they're exposed. Because without your reaction, their ego has nothing to feed on. And in the eyes of others, they look unbalanced. You look composed. They look like they're trying too hard. Like you've already. You're no longer loud. You're no longer proving anything. And that makes people nervous. They don't know what you're thinking. They can't tell what you're planning. They feel like you're hiding something because you're not trying to be seen. And that mystery, that calm refusal to perform, it becomes a psychological weapon, because the people who crave validation don't know what to do with someone who doesn't need. You stop fighting for respect and people start giving it to you by default. Not because you asked, but because you've made yourself unplayable. At this point, you're no longer reacting to their games. You're watching them lose control in real time. You'll notice they repeat themselves. They seek more eye contact. Their tone becomes more forceful. They ask, "Are you even listening?" They begin to feel ignored. Because they are. They don't know it yet, but they're unraveling. You're no longer trying to match their energy. You're absorbing it, converting it, and staying anchored. Because power doesn't raise its voice. It holds its presence. And presence that doesn't need approval is power that can't be bought. manipulated, or broken. This is the final shift, the transformation from the guy they overlook to the one they can't ignore anymore. Because now you no longer care about being right, longer explain your thoughts, longer need to be liked. You just move. And when you move, people feel it. Remember the silence. They remember how you didn't try. They remember how you didn't bite back. And that memory changes them. You weren't the underdog. You were the weapon hidden in plain sight. And when the final moment came, when it actually mattered, you said the thing that broke their illusion. With rage, not with ego, but with precision. This ego hack isn't about being humble. It's about being dangerous. Without display. It's about choosing. Silence when others yell, choosing. Stillness when others rush, choosing. Death when others flex. Because the man who doesn't need the world to see his strength controls the world's reaction to it. So next time someone tries to prove they're better than you, let them win the small game. Let them believe they're smarter. Let them speak. Them laugh. Let them underestimate you. Because the more they talk, the more you study. The more they assume, the more you build. And when the moment arrives, you won't say much. You won't perform. You'll just make one move and everything they believed about you will collapse. Quietly, permanently, without mercy. Because the smartest man in the room is often the one no one saw coming until it was already too late. If you've made it this far, you already know this wasn't about ego. This was about evolution. You're not here to shout louder. You're not here to compete with noise. You're here to disappear from their game and build one they can't enter. The truth is, most people will spend their lives trying to prove they're smart, strong, worthy, superior. And in doing that, they'll burn out their mind, expose their weakness, and sabotage their own potential. But you've chosen something different. You've chosen stillness over spectacle, silence over validation, strategy over pride. That's dangerous, and that's why you'll win. So let them underestimate. Let them talk. Let them laugh. Them feel like they're ahead. And when the time comes, don't explain the blunt, just move. And when you do, make sure it's the kind of move they'll never forget. Because now you don't need to be. You'll be remembered. This message hits something deep. Don't just watch it and scroll. Speak. Mark below. Tell me what part exposed your old self and which part you're about to start using in silence. Every comment, because this isn't just content, it's calibration. If the others argue, let the noise distract. You drop a line and walk like you know exactly who you're becoming.